an overwhelming 65% of Pinoys are looking forward to the next elections as the democratic way of renewing the nation and cleansing its leadership, and would not allow term extensions under any guise. In tackling our symposium theme, Leadership During Challenging Times, I realized that there are mountains of existing literature, speeches, books, articles, even movies and TV shows about effective leadership. I will not be true to myself and perhaps even unfair to you, my dear audience, if I just mouth these how-tos. Thus, to justify my presence today, I will speak from my heart. Right off, let me say that every leader must have a clear idea of what ultimately he or she wants to accomplish and the specific ways of how to achieve the declared goals. If one is embarking on a journey, one must have, prior to departure, a pre-selected destination and a specific mode of how to get there. I refer to a statement of goals, values, and methods as the vision mission of every leader or every organization. Now, it is one thing to put together a vision and mission statement. It is quite another to get a team to embrace it and to get it done. Otherwise stated, talk is easy, but let's see some action. More pointedly, Mrs. Ong asked me to discuss leadership in the judiciary. Did I have a mission vision statement? And as Chief Justice, was I able to get it done? Let me start by saying that the Chief Justice has two major roles. First, he is the highest magistrate of the land, the primus inter pares, or the first among equals among the 15 members of the Supreme Court. And second, he is the leader of the entire judicial branch of our government, composed of about 2,000 justices and judges, plus about 26,000 employees nationwide, as well as the Philippine Bar, composed of about 45,000 lawyers. That is why, appropriately, he is called Chief Justice of the Philippines, not just Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. As primus inter pares, the Chief Justice presides over all unbanked sessions of the Supreme Court. He is thus able to control the flow of the proceedings. He shapes the court's agenda, opens the discussion of the cases, and summarizes the arguments. Nonetheless, like his 14 colleagues, he has only one vote. So it is by his moral ascendancy and persuasive skills, not by any boss-subordinate relationship, that the Chief Justice leads the Supreme Court. On the other hand, the Chief Justice is also the Chief Executive Officer of the entire judiciary. Outside of the decision-making of the Supreme Court, in which he has only one solitary vote, the Chief Justice is the unquestioned administrative boss of the entire judicial government, department of government. Nothing happens without his say-so. But more than a boss, he is the leader of the judiciary. Indeed, the Chief Justice is looked up to as the leader who inspires, motivates, and leads others to work unceasingly to rise above their puny limitations, to excel beyond themselves, and to achieve collectively their loftiest dreams and highest aspirations. Sometimes these two roles of the Chief Justice clash. Let me explain. As a jurist, the Chief Justice is expected to be detached, mysterious, unreachable, untouchable, even unfathomable. Yet as a leader and CEO, he must be transparent, knowable, accountable, and reachable. The judge in him impels him to follow tradition, to uphold precedents, and to stabilize judicial thought. The leader in him requires him to innovate, to re-engineer, to reinvent new and better ways of managing and moving forward. As a jurist, the CJ must be a recluse. Yet, as a leader, he must have people skills. After briefly explaining the dual roles of the Chief Justice, let me now directly answer the earlier question of Mrs. Ong about having a vision, mission, and core values. At the beginning of my term, I spelled out my vision, and this is a judiciary that safeguards the liberty and nurtures the prosperity of our people under the rule of law. To achieve this vision, I drew up specific missions for each of my major constituencies. From the 2,000 justices and judges, I asked for adherence to 4 core values, what I call the 4 Ins of a good magistrate: independence, integrity, industry, and intelligence. From the 26,000 judicial employees, I pleaded for DHL, not the carrier, but dedication to duty, honesty in every way, and loyalty to the Supreme Court. And for the 45,000 lawyers, including Attorney Kapunan, I called for EC, ethics, and competence. Finally, I asked all these sectors to help reform the judiciary by fighting the acid problems that corrode justice, limited access to justice by the poor, corruption, incompetence, and delay in the delivery of quality judgments. There are 3 key words or phrases in my vision, namely liberty, prosperity, and the rule of law. Let me say a few words about each of them. Safeguarding liberty has long been a traditional expectation from our courts. Their role is to be the great equalizer when individual freedoms are buffeted by the awesome powers of the state. These epic constitutional struggles between the government and its citizens are written in the annals of our nation's history, to be invoked over and over, as often as challenges to individual liberty persist to this day. Indeed, an individual becomes a majority of one when courts uphold that person's freedom against the government. How do courts secure freedom? In litigations involving civil liberties, the scales of justice should weigh heavily against the government and in favor of the people, especially the poor and the weak. This rule is commonly referred to as strict scrutiny. Conformably, during my watch as Chief Justice, the Supreme Court promulgated 3 landmark decisions expressly championing strict scrutiny. First, the court struck down the main parts of Executive Order 464 and upheld the right of Congress to summon executive officials for investigations in aid of legislation. Second, it pulverized the so-called calibrated preemptive response, or CPR, policy of the administration and ruled in favor of the people's right to demonstrate for a redress of grievances. Third, it voided major parts of Presidential Proclamation 1017 and recognized fundamental rights to liberty even when the President has declared a state of national emergency. While safeguarding liberty is a fairly common judicial task, nurturing prosperity is something many lawyers do not really concede as a judicial mandate. They claim that this is outside